This is our third video for July 1st. We are at verse 5 of chapter 13. The righteous hate what is false, but the wicked bring shame and disgrace. Let's do YouTube for a moment. I had at one point some teenage daughters say, we should do something really stupid on YouTube, and we'd have all this, we'd blow up and it'd become viral. Well, I told them, no. That is a false way to become famous. That's not an achievement. That's an anti-achievement. And many of the things that we do in society which make us infamous, really not famous, they're anti-achievements. They're not building anything, growing anything, helping anyone. They're not signs of hard work and skill and the gift of God being displayed. They're false. They are against all the good things which could be. And so really they're disgraceful, they're shameful. And much of what appears on YouTube, hopefully not this video, are disgraceful and shameful things. They're not making the name of yourself and your family. They're not bringing pride to your parents. They're bringing shame. So the righteous look at those things, those who follow God, and they say, no, I want things which are life-giving, which are good. I want things which follow the principles God set up for a good life. Verse 6, righteousness guards the man of integrity, but wickedness overthrows the sinner. Another return to theme here by Solomon. If you follow the paths of God, then trust in the outcomes that will happen. And ultimately the outcomes will be good. And even today, where sin and the devil do rule, and so sometimes good is punished, still, even today, when you act in a manner with integrity and principle, very often you are rewarded and protected from bad consequences. On the other hand, if you seek after things that are evil and cause chaos and death, if you are wicked, then very often the end result is going to be gang shootings, drug overdoses, divorce. You can run through a list of societal ills, disease. That's going to be the end result. You're going to get punished by your own wickedness for your own wickedness. 7. One man pretends to be rich, yet has nothing. Another pretends to be poor, yet has great wealth. I worked at a service station, and the man who owned it would come around sometimes and go through garbage cans for pop cans. He'd turn in the aluminum cans. He owned 3 service stations and a car, a car sales place. Quite wealthy. He pretended to be poor. He drove an old beat-up car. He wasn't spending his wealth on what he felt were unnecessary extravagances, and he was very careful, very frugal, sometimes too much so in my opinion, but he was very frugal in how he spent his money. And that guarded his wealth. But some pretend to be rich when they're not. They act like they have money when they don't. They think this gives them cachet and fame. They want others to look at them and respect them for what they have rather than for who they are. And in reality, they're building this reputation on a highly collapsible, the foolish man built his house on the sand. They're building this reputation on something which can disappear in a moment and which can certainly lead to having wicked consequences, bad consequences, when debtors, etc., catch up with them. Verse 8. A man's riches may ransom his life, but a poor man hears no threat. Aha! Interesting turnabout here. So, your riches have use. Sometimes they are very useful. They repair a roof, or they, get you a new house. And if you are captured by someone who hates you, sometimes because you're rich, only sometimes, you can be saved. You will give them part of your wealth and they will free you. right? So riches sometimes, part of the time, answers problems. But here's the other side. The man who is poor, doesn't have the problems the rich man does. This doesn't mean you want to be poor, but it's saying, look, if I'm not wealthy and the stock market crashes, guess what? I'm not too worried about the stock market crashing because I've got no money in it. All right, well, there it went. It crashed. No one is going to kidnap my children for ransom. They know I don't have any money to ransom, so if I went to South America, I'm not going to have these kidnap cartels grab my kids so that they can ransom them because I have no money. I really have very little to worry about in security on my house. You don't have money, why do people want to break in and steal your stuff in a society where we have plenty of stuff? So the poor man, you don't get the threat because you don't have anything anybody wants. It's kind of saying there is a blessing, an odd sort of blessing, in not being overly wealthy. Let me give you a real-life example here. When I was student teaching down in the LA region at an inner-city school in Santa Ana, I drove a car, and it was the worst car in the parking lot. And no one was going to steal it. It looked bad. It was bad. And if they did steal it, what was I out? So I wasn't worried about my car getting stolen. I had no threat. Let's continue with verse 9. The light of the righteous shines brightly, but the lamp of the wicked is snuffed out. Our children will live on past when we die. Our names will continue. And in reality, we will live on past when we die. Our light is going to go eternally. But also what we plant in this world lasts, if what we plant is of God. So we have this church over here to my right that was planted many years ago by many parents and grandparents or great-grandparents of those in the congregation. When they have upkept this church and made it a nice light in this community. And it's continuing. It's continuing because it got planted on Jesus Christ and because he's using it to shine light to the world. And as we do those things which point to Jesus and train up those who come after us to Jesus, that light will shine on and on and on. In fact, it will shine to eternity when we all gather with Jesus on the last day. Okay, but if you are one who turns your back upon Christ, treats your children as disposable, who doesn't bring them up to learn to love others and to be good citizens, yeah, your name's going to disappear. My father was adopted by his father after his father married my grandmother. And that's my father's father. We have great memories of him. We have no memories of my father's blood father. His wick has been gone out. He deserted his family. He deserted his son as a young boy. And so my father had no interest, no desire to know him. He didn't learn much good from him. Instead, the wick that continues is my grandfather. We'll stop there.